Welcome back. Our next guest has been tackling issues around alcohol consumption to mental health to advocating for an end to violence in Gaza.
Yeah, she's been a busy lady. Senator Frances Black joins us now. Good morning to you, Frances.
Good morning, Frances.
I don't know how you have a spare minute in the day after reading the notes that I just got.
I know.
Incredible.
I'm very busy at the moment, but I feel I'm working on things that, for me, I'm very passionate about.
You are.
So I feel very privileged.
And will we talk about Gaza, because this is a very recent trip, isn't it, and something that you're deeply invested in?
Absolutely. I went to Palestine only about 3 weeks ago. I only got back about 2 weeks ago. And the reason I went out there is because I'm introducing legislation into the Seanad around banning goods from the illegal occupied territories. Okay. And what that means is that what's happening over in the West Bank in particular, where the settlements, which are illegal, there's settlements being built on Palestinian land, and they're totally illegal, and they're bulldozing down their houses, but also we're receiving goods from the West Bank that we shouldn't be receiving. It's actually illegal. So as you can see there, that's when I was in Gaza.
You took this footage yourself?
There's a blockade happening in Gaza at the moment, which is horrendous. We met with NGOs over there, and it was just heartbreaking, to be honest with you, Simon and Anna, in the sense that they were saying to me, why are the international community not doing anything for us?
Why aren't they helping us?
They feel so abandoned and lost and alone, and it's the same in the West Bank as well. And I came home absolutely shell-shocked from what I saw, because I was up at the border protest where the Great March is, and what I saw there were families, because the families who are there, they feel so hopeless. There's nobody really doing anything for them. There's huge mental health issues. There's huge just deprivation, and they're lost.
So what do we need to do to move it on, Frances?
Well, I think for starters, I think the legislation, even though this is not BDS, so I need to be clear on that. The legislation that I'm bringing in is vital, and I would ask people out there to contact their local representative, their local TD, their local senator to support this legislation, because it really is just about banning goods, because the they're illegal, the occupied territories, they're illegal. So, and under international law, we shouldn't be supporting them.
And what goods are we referring to, Frances?
It's just fruit and vegetables. When you go into your local shop, have a look and see where your fruit, vegetables, sometimes there's garden furniture, but just when you're going into your local shop, be mindful of stuff coming from the West Bank.
So when you come back from a trip like that and you're overwhelmed by what you've seen, and you've seen so many people need help, how do you sit down and say, right, where do I start? How do I help them? And how do you arrive at the idea, well, the first thing I want to do is this legislation about the illegal goods? How do you arrive at that?
Well, I had introduced the legislation in January, and that's why I went out to Gaza, and I was over at the West Bank as well. And I came back, and of course a week later then we had the massacre. And there's a huge injustice going on over there. There really is. There was a nurse killed yesterday who went out. She was dressed in white. She went out to help somebody who was shot, and she got killed. So, there's a huge justice, and all I want to do is create awareness around it and talk about the injustice that's going on.
Do you think we've become a little bit immune to the news stories, Frances?
I do think that it's hard to take in, to be honest with you. It is hard for us to take in. But I refuse to. I mean, I feel I have to talk about it. I have to talk about what's going on for the people of Palestine and the injustice that's going on over there, and the fact that they're being shot. Over there, they have a Bloody Sunday every single week. You know, we talk about our Bloody Sunday here, and over there it's a Bloody Sunday every single week, and nobody's doing anything to support them.
Why is nobody doing anything?
Well, there's a huge...
This has been going on for so long.
I do think that the EU are afraid. They're almost afraid because of America, because unfortunately Israel has huge support from America, and at the moment President Trump is really supporting the Israel government over there and what they're doing, which is really, really worrying for the people of Gaza. I mean, it's absolutely, what I see it as ethnic cleansing. It's like what happened to the Native American initially many, many years ago, and what happened to many, many different communities all over the world. And I just believe that what's going on here, we're going to look back on this in 100 years' time and go, how did we let that happen?
Yeah.
You know.
So be more mindful about the products that you buy and make contact with your local representatives.
Yeah, connect in with your local TDs and senators and ask them to support the legislation that I am bringing in, hopefully in June or July this year.
Now, the other work that you're doing, because you're not busy enough with that stuff, is the charity that you founded yourself, which is the Rise Foundation, which I know is something that's very close to your heart, Frances.
Yes, the Rise Foundation. I set it up back in 2009. I went back to college to study addiction therapy back in the early 2000s, and out of that I ended up working in the Rutland Treatment Centre, and I loved working with those who were trying to get into recovery from addiction.
They do amazing work, don't they?
But I met the families.
Yeah.
So I met family members who had loved ones who were in addiction, and I saw their, I suppose, just their heartbrokenness.
Their pain.
I saw their loss. Yeah. I saw their grief. Because if you're a mother, a father, a partner, an adult child, and you're watching your loved one going down a route of self-destruct with alcohol, drugs or gambling, you feel so powerless. And sometimes family members think they're going mad, suffer with anxiety, depression, stress, can't eat, completely enmeshed and preoccupied with what's going to happen today, almost in that hypervigilant state. So from trauma, it's a type of trauma. So what I decided to do is set up the Rise Foundation to run programmes to support family members. So we have a very strong programme, 10-week family programme. We have a one-to-one service, we have a continuing care service, and we're going from strength to strength. What I mean by that is that we have a lot of family members coming to us and looking for support who feel so powerless and don't know what else to do. So we don't get any funding at the moment, but we're working on that from government funding, but we are working on that.
You rely on the generosity of fundraising?
Yes, we've seen at least 5,000-6,000 family members have come through our services since we opened.
So it's invaluable. Now, we can't let you go without talking about music, because she does all this social entrepreneurship and, saving lives left, right and centre.
And you're still gigging.
Yeah. I still gig.
Like
you were saying that as I'm...
Go on, Simon, tell the viewers what you told Frances.
I have no pride. A ferocious crush on Frances. Still do.
I
saw you gigging in... we were trying to find out where, but it was probably more the Red Cap, one of the small gigs with Ciara Goss.
That's right.
Now, back in the 90s.
That's right, yeah, myself and Ciara.
And I was saying, you still, do you miss the music? She said, sure, I was touring in January. You're still gigging.
Myself and Ciara, we went back on the road together after, not kind of working together for over 20 years. Yeah, I'm back, and I'm still gigging. I'll be doing some gigs now in the autumn with Mary Coughlin and Sharon Shannon.
We have to go.
We will. We'll make a night of it, will we?
Yeah.
We'll go out.
You can swoon.
I'll tweet you.
We'll go out,
yeah. And I'll let you know where we're playing.
But your son and daughter, Aoife and Owen, are musicians as well.
Both, yes.
And Aoife's up for a big award, isn't she?
She's up for an Irish Post Award. And she's up with Christy Moore, of course, and Bioga and people like that. So
she's in great company.
She's in great company.
I mean, it wasn't Arthur Brown she elected France.
So we're hoping. Look, it is. The people are voting. So look, we're going to go down on Thursday. We're going to go down to Killarney. Yeah. We're going to enjoy the night.
Of course, yeah.
And it's going to be lovely. And it's a huge privilege. And she's thrilled to bits. And she's doing great. And my son as well.
Continued success. Keep fighting the fight.
I will indeed.
A lot of people are very thankful for the work that you're doing.
Incredible work. So we've literally scraped the surface there, Frances.
I know.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We'll see you at the gig in the autumn.
We'll see you in the autumn, yeah. Thanks a million.
Now, after the break, more styles for a bank holiday getaway. See you soon.